to today's share class. It is almost Thanksgiving time, and so for a lot of us that means it's turkey time. So I'm excited to show you this recipe today for making the absolute best turkey. I've had tons of friends who have had sworn tried and true methods that they've used before, and I shared this recipe with them and they fell in love with it and they said they'll never go back to their way. And I remember growing up and my mom waking up in the middle of the night to baste the turkey with concentrated orange juice, and she would get up all throughout the night to do it, to make a delicious turkey. But then I discovered over the years, when it became my turn now as a grown adult, became my turn to start making turkey for the family and our extended family, that there was an easier way and that doesn't require a ton of fuss whatsoever. This is a super simple recipe, you guys, and you probably won't even believe that it will turn out the way that it does. So I'm just super excited to share this with you, and hopefully we have some fun today, getting ready for Thanksgiving. And so thanks for everyone for joining along today. And so let me just start off first by letting you know what ingredients you're gonna need. Obviously we've got the big guy here. Here's our turkey. So you're gonna need a raw turkey. And then the other few things that you're gonna need is just a couple of things. You're gonna wanna have fresh whole lemons on hand. So I would pick up 5 to 6 at least of good size, fist size lemons. And then the next thing you're gonna need is a stick of butter, and you're gonna wanna make sure that that is at room temperature when you go to use it. And then we're gonna have lots of bunches of herbs. So right now, laying out here, I have rosemary, I have some oregano, and I have some thyme. And so you just want big handfuls of all of those herbs to use. And then you're gonna want a really large sweet onion, and then 1 bunch of garlic. And the final thing is a 1/2 cup of olive oil, and that's it. That's all there is to it. There's a technique involved that I'm going to be sharing with you. So first things first, I like to break this down into sections when I teach making this turkey. And so our next step in this is, I like to call it bath time. It's bath time for bathing this turkey. Now what's fun, I don't know if it's because I get tired at Thanksgiving of cooking so many different things, but when I started to prepare turkey, I just started to have fun with it. I kind of talk to it like it's my pet bird, so to speak. And so I just think of it as something to have fun with. So this is gonna be our toy for the next hour, and I hope you guys can find a way to have fun with it when you make it for your own family. So that's the whole goal here. So like I said, our next step is bath time. So we were gonna get this guy ready for a good bath. So we're gonna move over to our sink. But before we move to the sink, I wanna point out that if you've never made turkey before, one of the first things you want to do for all you women out there, or men even, take off any jewelry that you have. So I'm just going to tuck this over here to the side. That way we don't get any of our jewelry messed up. When you look at a turkey here, this one is about 14 pounds, and you can use any size that you need for your family. But on the inside, you're going to want to take a look, because usually there is a packet. And this contains, typically liver and random things, giblets is what it's called. And you'll want to take a look inside the cavity just to pull that out of there, because we don't want to bake the turkey with the giblets in there. So we've removed our giblets, and now we need to go to the other end of our turkey. And this is the larger cavity, and you're gonna wanna reach inside because typically what you're gonna find is a long neck of the turkey. And just reach in and feel around, just double check in. We're getting super close with this turkey. And so that's how I like to think about it, is just reaching in. You can, if you feel any ice in there whatsoever, you'll wanna make sure and remove that. And that's how you know that your turkey quite isn't as thawed as you may want it to be, so you can always put it in some cool water. So remove that turkey neck. And now we're gonna go over to the kitchen sink and give this big guy the best bath he's ever had. Okay, so now we're ready to give our bird a bath. Make sure your sink is super clean. Clean off your cutting board. There's gonna be a lot of cleanup. You're gonna wash your hands several times just so we don't cross-contaminate. As you guys know, when you're working with raw meat, that's one of the most important basic things in the kitchen. And so we've cleaned this cutting board, and we're just gonna set this off to the side until we're ready for it. And we have a nice and clean sink. And now we're just gonna give this guy a bath. And so you just want to run it under water. And you know, it's stored in plastic. And so we want to remove any residuals of that plastic, if at all possible. And so what you want to do is give this bath, or this turkey, a bath inside and out. And so I think of it as this turkey is doing somersaults. You're basically turning them over and over, and you're using the sprayer to just rinse this guy off as good as you can. You get a little bit of a workout too, because like I told you, he is 14 pounds. So rinse him off super, super good. And you'll see some pink juices flowing, and all that is either from the neck that was inside the cavity and as it defrosted. So just make sure the water runs nice and clear as well. And then we're gonna turn him upside down and just make sure he's all drained. Go. I think we got him. All right. So we're gonna move him over back to our cutting board here. And then I'm gonna wash my hands up. And then we will get started with this guy. Turkey Day is just so much fun, as you guys know, and I hope that you are bringing people into the kitchen with you and not doing this all by yourself. It's actually fun to have someone helping you. So you guys, you're gonna wanna grab a towel that you don't use very often and just dry this bird, towel dry him. You can use paper towels as well, that works, but get him nice and dry. And it means lifting up his wings and getting up underneath there and turning him over and checking out his backside here and getting that nice and dry. Perfect. All right, this guy is all nice and dry, so let's move on to the next step here. Okay, so we have a large cutting board. You can lay it out on your counter if you like. You're just gonna wanna make sure and clean up really well. I'm just using a large cutting board here that we have. And so the next thing you wanna do is get your roasting pan. I can't tell you how many times this happened to me early on when I was making 20, 25-pound turkeys. My roasting pan would be too small for the bird. So one of the things that you want to do at the start of this, after giving the turkey a bath, is double check that this guy fits in the pan. So I have a large roasting pan here, and this guy fits beautifully. So like I told you, he's about 14 pounds.
And so double check that before you go to all the trouble of prepping this guy, because I would hate to have you have it not work out in your pan. And you can certainly use a disposable pan. Those work great as well. I just happen to have a large roasting pan that we use. Okay, so the next thing you're going to want to do is preheat your oven, and you're going to put it on 325. Okay, so get that all nice and preheated, and then that way when we're done here, we can put this guy in the oven and get him all baked up. All right, so I pulled out my ingredients again. I had moved that off to the side and I brought them all back here. And you just want to feel around on your butter and just make sure it's soft to the touch. Otherwise, this next step will be a little tricky if you don't do that. So what you're going to do, like I said, you guys will probably not believe how easy this is going to be. You will get your hands messy though. All right, I'm going to grab a knife here, and I'm just going to cut this stick of butter, softened butter, in half. So I'm going to use half of it on one side of the turkey and the other half on the other side. So I like to turn it toward me here, and you're going to want to put it breast side up, okay? And then what you're going to do is you're going to lift up the skin, and you're gonna carefully, be very careful, like anyone who has long nails, be very gentle. But what you're gonna do is you're gonna reach up under the skin, and I'll just show you right now so you have an idea what my fingers are doing. You're gonna reach up under the skin and then open and close your fingers. And that's gonna separate the skin from the actual breast. And it's pretty easy for the most part. But if you get stuck, just be super careful that you don't lift up, because then you'll poke a hole in the skin, and that's not so good if that happens. So your whole hand, like I told you, we're gonna get really close with this turkey. And so your whole hand is gonna go in here and just keep opening and closing. And you might even need someone with a long arm to get back in there. And like I said, you'll feel the tissue removing from the skin along the breast, and just open and close, just like that. And you can even pull back if you feel like you missed an area, and go back in again, and just keep lifting and removing that skin. And so we're done here on the left side, and we're going to do the exact same thing on the right side. So we're going to carefully lift up our skin and slowly put our hand on the right side here. Remember, keep those fingernails down as close as you can to the breast and not lift them up. There we go. And you'll feel it nicely separate away from there. All right, keep going. There we go, and just be really careful, because back in this area here in the front, or the back area here, the skin is a little bit more delicate. So just remember, don't reach up. You can go down the side and you can get a good feel for it. And this is probably the worst part of making a turkey. A lot of people don't like this part, having to touch it. But I highly recommend getting everything out and ready so you're not putting your hands on all these different things. And so I just have a little area right here where I can easily grab everything and put away anything that I've touched, like I said, so we don't cross-contaminate. So we have that butter cut in half here. And what you're gonna do, this is gonna be fun, you're gonna smush this. Smush this butter and place it in your right hand, or if you're left-handed, go ahead and do that. And then you're gonna turn over your hand over with the butter and lift up that skin, and you're gonna rub this butter all around. and spread it around. Start in the back first, is what I like to do back here, and use your other hand to kind of spread it around. And then you're just going to press down, and you'll see, because you're using soft butter, it just easily spreads all along the breast of the turkey here. All right, so we have that butter up and underneath there. And then you're gonna grab the other one, and you can check with your hand that it's soft enough, and it should just squish right up, just like this, and flatten super, super easily. So we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna have our palm up with the butter, and then turn it palm side down, reach in, and like I said, start in the very back here and push some of that butter out, and then you can spread it with your other hand. There you go. And I end up, half the time I'm talking to the turkey because I just gave him a bath, I towel dry him. Now I'm getting super comfortable with him. I've already cleaned out his insides, and so it's super funny just to talk to him. So that's what I tend to do when I'm working with this turkey, and you're just thinking about, he's enjoying his little massage here. All right, so we have our butter in there nicely. Okay, so all of our butter is up and in there. Okay, so once you have your butter up and in there, you can go ahead and take a minute, wash your hands if you want, and then we can start fresh with the next part. Okay, so hands are clean again, so I'm just going to take this butter wrapper and move that off to the side. And I'm gonna grab a knife here. And what you're gonna wanna do is that bowl of lemons that you set out, go ahead and grab 2 or 3 of them. And we're just gonna slice them up in 1/4 inch slices. So 1/4 of an inch, tuck those fingers back. So we're not cutting off any fingers on Thanksgiving Day. That is never a fun thing to have happen. So just be super careful as you cut. And then you'll just stack them up, and we'll go to number 2 and do the exact same thing. So my hands are a little bit slippery because they're still a little bit wet, so I'm holding it just a little bit differently as I cut. All right, there we go, that's number 2. And I will go ahead and slice up number 3. There we go. And you guys know, when you're cutting fresh lemons, it just makes you happy to smell citrus. Just absolutely love it. And if it's cold outside, for your Thanksgiving this year, it's just fun to have this lemon brighten everything up. And like I said, talking to the turkey, somersaults in the water and drying them off, and having some fun spreading that butter around. It's just a fun process. So then the next thing you're gonna do is you're going to place your lemon slices all up under the skin. So what we're gonna do is start in the back and begin to place all these lemon slices all around everywhere. So I pushed this one as far back as I can go, and that's why we separated the skin, so that way the lemon slices aren't doing it. And go ahead and push it down all the way to the back there. And every turkey, it's a little bit different. That's why I said 2 to 3. You're not gonna quite know until you see the size of turkey that you have. And you're just gonna take all these slices and try to get every inch underneath the skin covered with a lemon slice. There we go. Perfect, and you can even overlap them a little bit. Great. And just keep going. There you go. Now I'm going to go to the other side with the remaining slices. And like I said, try to start in the back, so push it all the way to the back, and you can use your other hand to help guide it, and it will literally slide right in there. And I like to put as many as I can possibly get in here, so just keep pushing it. There we go. There. This nice big one here. Put this one right there up front. Perfect. Okay, so we've got the lemon slices in there. Now what you're going to want to do is grab those bunches of herbs, and this is the best part. You don't have to just stem them and remove the leaves off the stem. All you're going to do is divide them equally. So I've got my rosemary here. Let me just tuck this over to the side. And so I have my rosemary, so I have 2 stalks there, 2 stalks there, and I'm just dividing these herbs up equally. And then I have my thyme here, and you might have to pull it apart. And so just separate them into 2 equal sized bunches. And then all you're going to do is reach up under the skin and kind of do the exact same thing that we did before. And I like to do it in little pieces so I can get in the back here. And so carefully think of that stem as a finger. So make sure that's pointing towards you when you go to put it in. Otherwise you can poke the skin up. And you're just going to reach in again, and you're going to push that stem of herbs all the way far back as you can. And again, keep the ends of the stems pointing toward you. And that way you don't break the skin. So just turn those over, reach in, and just push them back. There we go. Turn it toward me. And you might have to just double check before you go reaching under there. Oh, these smell so good. And just feed that in there nice and push it back toward the back here. There we go. And our last little bit on this side. Just again, check those stems. There we go. And then right here in front, we'll put that last little bit of herbs here. And so now I'm going to move on to the right side, and the same thing. Point those towards us, and then, you'll be surprised how much give there is to the skin. So you can really fit a lot underneath here. So just be sure and try to get back as far as you can. There we go. And here we go with our last part here. Let me double check. I've got a couple pointers here. All right. I'll put this in here, and you just want all these herbs laying on top of that breast there, and it's going to give it so much flavor. You guys are not even going to believe it. So we've got a lot going on up and under that skin. We've got those lemon slices, and we've got rosemary, we've got thyme, and we have oregano. Those are my favorite herbs to use for turkey, but you can certainly experiment as you try this recipe out. If you want to add in others, you certainly can. I just wouldn't recommend dried herbs for this. You want that full punch of fresh herb flavor that you're going to get with this, okay? And so now I'm going to wash my hands up again, and then we're going to move on to the next part. Okay, so my hands are washed, and now we're ready to season this guy. So you want to grab some kosher salt and pepper, and we are going to be using, let me grab a tablespoon. And what you want to do is just grab a small bowl, and we're going to be placing, it's going to sound like a lot, so don't get scared. We're putting in 2 whole tablespoons of salt. And you really do need that much, so don't be scared off by that. And it will not be salty, so trust me on that one. And then you're going to want a tablespoon of pepper. So just add that to the bowl, and then using your tablespoon, just toss it around until it's all nicely mixed together. There we go. All right, we'll set this off to the side here. Okay, so now what you're gonna do is you're gonna season this guy everywhere you can find. You're gonna season him inside the cavity and all over. And so when I do this, I still do this part on the cutting board. And that way we don't have a lot of loose pepper and salt everywhere. So you're just gonna take this salt and pepper mixture, and you are gonna just sprinkle every inch of this guy. Okay? You're sprinkling the outer side of the skin here. There we go. And like I said, you can be super generous, and then you can lift it up and sprinkle on the inside all around. And then we're gonna flip it over and do the exact same thing. So just get every inch of this guy coated really nicely here. There we go. And I always like this part. It is a little messy, I will admit to that. You have salt and pepper flying everywhere. But it is definitely worth it. So once you have all that taken care of, flip it back over here. There we go. And any extra you can keep sprinkling on top, and like I said, even on the inside there. There we go. And so we're all done with that. Now we're gonna go back to those lemons that we have sitting out, and we are going to just cut these up in half. So 2 to 3 lemons. And you'll want to get your pan nice and close. What I do is then lift him into here, because I do not mind having lemon juice, extra lemon juice in the pan. So move this off to the side here. And we've placed them in our roasting pan, and we're just gonna give a nice squeeze of this, all these fresh lemons. So 2 to 3. I usually use a full 3, and you're just gonna squeeze as much as you can out of here. And then when you're done squeezing, tuck that lemon, halved lemon, up on the inside. So we got one side done here. We're gonna flip them over, and we're gonna do the same thing. and just squeeze that lemon all around, all over this guy. There we go. I'm going to set this off to the side because I'm going to stuff that back into the cavity in just a second. So squeeze more lemon. There we go. All right, so we'll flip them back over. There we go. All right, so the breast side is up, and I'm gonna squeeze one more half over this guy, and then set them upright. And you're gonna squeeze on the inside, and those ones that we used on the back side, we're gonna stuff those in. And that lemon, just from that squeezed lemon, that will give it tons of flavor. You'd be so surprised. You wouldn't think, you would think it would all like drizzle away, but it does not. There's so much flavor, and you can squeeze up under the skin too, even though we have those lemon slices. You can get up underneath there and then stuff your cavity. And then one last squeeze. You're close to having every inch of this guy covered in fresh lemon. And you get a workout too, squeezing all this out of here. All right, so stuff this guy up into the cavity here. There we go. All right, so then it doesn't get any easier than this. You're gonna take a whole bunch of garlic, and you're just going to place this inside the cavity. And then you're gonna take that large sweet onion, and you're just gonna quarter it. So I halved it now in quarters. Don't even worry about the skin. And as you guys can tell, I'm not putting a stuffing inside the cavity. That's something I think that doesn't need to happen. You can do that on the side. It doesn't change anything about your turkey not having the stuffing in the inside. And so we're gonna take these quartered onions, and we're just going to place them inside the cavity as well. Now, here's the funny thing is, think of it like you're packing, trying to get way more than you want inside of a suitcase than can fit. Think of it that way, because you're gonna see it's super stuffed. But remember, those lemons are squished up, and so just keep pushing in. It's like you're sitting on that suitcase trying to close it. Think of it that way. And just shove as much as you can in there. There you go. And if you have any herbs popping out, just pull that skin back over. There we go. And so this guy, as you guys can see, is stuffed with the garlic, the lemons, and the onion. All the way to the brim here. Okay, so I'm gonna wash my hands again because I have all this salt and pepper here. And then we'll be ready for one final step. We're here ready for this final step. What I like to do is flip it over one more time on the back here. And remember, it's heavy, so bear that in mind. And then you're gonna take that half a cup of olive oil that we talked about, and we're gonna give this guy one final massage. So you're gonna pour half of it, so 1/4 of a cup over the top here, just like this. You can set it down, and then you're gonna feel all that salt and pepper there on the skin, and you're just gonna rub this all around. You're basically giving the turkey the best massage it's ever had. So we're basically warming it up, getting them ready. So now we're just going to flip it back over to the final side here. There we go. And if you have the extra skin, just tuck that inside where that neck piece came out of, or where the neck was actually, is what I should say. So take that last bit of olive oil and drizzle it over the top and try to get every inch, the legs. And this olive oil, by doing this, it is going to help crisp up the skin as this cooks. And it really is amazing. So there we go. And you know, there's a lot of opinions about what you do with the wings. If you tuck them under to keep them out of place, I like to tuck the wings up and under so they're not sticking up. And there we go. So you'll just want to do the same. You'll lift up that drumstick and just tuck that wingtip down, and it'll stay down just like that. And then a lot of people talk about tying up the ends of the turkey. I have tried it all different ways over the years, and I have found that that is absolutely not necessary to do that. Now, if that's something that you do out of habit, you go right ahead and do that. So the last thing I'm going to do is just I had a couple of extra herbs from before just laying around, and so I'm just sprinkling it over the top. So I am destemming them just like this. And I'll grab this oregano and strip that off, and I'm just sprinkling it around. And you know, one thing is, you guys have been with me now for a while, some of those of you who have watched a lot of these share classes, it's so important just to add pops of color. So we have the yellow of the onions and the lemons peeking out inside the cavity, and then now we're just sprinkling this beautiful greenery over the top. And this part is probably more for presentation than anything, but I think it's just a fun thing to do at the end here, is to put the remainder of those herbs over the top. There we go. And you don't have to be perfect. If some stems fall on here, that is not a problem at all. There we go. And then just a couple of more here. And if you're buying your herbs in the store, they come in those little packets. So I just use one packet of oregano, one of thyme, and one of the rosemary. All right, I think I got most of it here, and it just makes it look so pretty. I'm gonna see if I can tilt this. Let me just wash my hands really quick. I'll tilt it so you guys can see what it looks like. So now you guys, I'll just give you a quick look at how beautiful this looks. You can see exactly what it looks like. So super, super beautiful. We have our oven all ready to go. It's preheated 325. Super important that, you know, I told you that we are working with a 14-pound turkey. Today, be sure and check the manufacturer's instructions for timing on your turkey in case you have a larger turkey or a smaller one, just to be safe. But our magic number that we are aiming for an internal temperature is 160. You're going to find on the packages it says 170. 160 is perfect because when we pull it out of the oven, it's still going to be cooking those final 10 degrees. You'll have really dry turkey if you cook it all the way to 170. So go for the 160 mark. We're going to take this turkey and place it in the oven. Just make sure that bottom rack is down so it'll fit in there nicely. And we're going to set our timer for 1 hour and 30 minutes.
And when the timer goes off, you're going to want to grab a sheet of tin foil and place it loosely over the top. And that way for our second half of baking or roasting, we won't have it get overly brown. So place this guy, it's super heavy. Right in the center there of your oven, close that up. Okay, so we have it set for 1 hour and 30 minutes. And like I said, when that timer goes off, you're gonna take that sheet of tin foil and place it loosely over the top. Prevents it from getting a sunburn, and you'll be good to go, and it'll go for another hour and a half. So typically it's around 3 hours for a 14-15 pound turkey. And so, like I said, just double check your manufacturer's direction for your turkey based on the weight of what your turkey is, and that will help you determine the amount of time to put it in. But again, the magic is we'll check our temperature as we get a little closer to the end of those 3 hours. And once it reaches 160, that's when it's going to come out of the oven. You have plenty of time to clean this up. Like I said, there's not much mess. We just have to wipe up some of this salt and pepper that got sprinkled around and clean up our cutting boards. And that's it. You can then get started on anything else that you may have. And you know, last week I had showed you all that sweet potato casserole. Oh my goodness, we so thoroughly enjoyed it last week in our house. And we had it each evening or each night for just a side for dinner. And it was wonderful. And so that's something that I just wanted to point out to you guys. You can make a lot of dishes in advance and have it ready to go to be warmed right in the oven on Thanksgiving Day. And so you don't have to necessarily have, you know, 2 ovens. You can use coolers. Coolers retain good heat. So once something is all nice and warm, you can put it down in a cooler, all wrapped in towels so it doesn't melt the inside of your cooler. But there's tons of tricks that we have come to love. Another one is to use your crock pot. You can use a crock pot for mashed potatoes, and that can keep that hands off. And when this comes out of the oven, you're still gonna have a good half an hour to use your oven. Because you want to make sure that you let it rest once it comes out of the oven. So I just wanted to come back and remind you that about 30 minutes before the timer goes off, go ahead and grab a meat thermometer and check the internal temperature to see where it is. You're wanting, as a reminder, you're wanting to aim for a temperature of 160 degrees. So we're just gonna check right now and see where we stand. All right, so just be super careful. It's heavy and hot, and you can hear it. So we're gonna remove this tin foil, and you guys are gonna see just how beautifully golden brown this is. Isn't that amazing? And then I just want to show you So what you want to do is take your meat thermometer, get that out of the way, and see where the drumstick is. Right at that crease
go ahead and put your meat thermometer in here. You'll push it down. See what that temperature is. And right now it is inching up to about 150. So we are super close. So I'm just going to remove that and put it back on the foil so that way we don't brown it anymore. We'll probably put it back on for another 20 minutes and we'll be ready to go. And so because we're in that last hour before our turkey is ready, it'll come out of the oven probably in 20 minutes, and then we're gonna let it rest for a little bit, of 20 to 30 minutes or so. And so meanwhile, I went ahead and started my mashed potatoes. So this is the perfect time. Mashed potatoes take about 30-35 minutes to make up. You'll set out some butter and get that at room temperature. And if you can find our recipe for mashed potatoes on the Sharing Life, Love, and Food blog, or you can find it on Facebook too. Last year, we put out a post about the most popular Thanksgiving sides, and hands down, mashed potatoes were it. And so it was fun to see what all the sides were across the nation. And Colorado just so happened to be mashed potatoes. So we shared our recipe, and I know you guys will love it. It is dangerously delicious, and it's not for the faint of heart because there's lots of butter and some fun fixins inside of our mashed potatoes. But during this time, when your turkey is in this final stage, it's a great time to start your mashed potatoes, get those ready, and you can certainly make them earlier in the day. And like I had mentioned, you can put them in a crock pot and they are delicious, and you can just put them in their serving dish and you're all set to go. So give me about 20 more minutes and we'll be back and getting this out of the oven and getting ready to get this out onto a platter soon. It's been another 20 minutes after we had checked the temperature the first time, and so we should be up at 160 now, and so we'll just take our turkey out of the oven for the final time. And again, just be super careful because it's really hot. And you can hear all that, those juices bubbling up. What you want to do is double check your temperature. And we check the other side before. Let me just check this side here. And perfect. We are at 160. And so we just want to take some more tin foil and wrap this up super tightly. And you can use the piece that you used before, that's fine. I love using the heavy duty tin foil. I think it packs in the heat just a little bit better. So just be careful because it is super hot. You get that tin foil down around it nice and tightly so it traps in all the heat. This is super important. You don't want to skip this step. Wrapping this turkey up allows all the juices and everything to settle in, and it makes it extra juicy. So please remember to do this step when you pull it out of the oven. And so you can set this off to the side, get everything on the table, begin to get all the place settings out and all of that if you haven't done it, and just finish up your last minute things. Now, if you're a gravy person, you can go ahead and pull some of the juices from the bottom. But what I'm going to show you is, as soon as we get the turkey out onto the platter, one of the secrets to this turkey is to take some of those juices, slice up and carve your turkey, and then pour those juices over top before you serve it. Because if you remember, it's going to be lemon juice and those herbs and olive oil and some salt and pepper seasoning that's in there, and it makes for the best just dressing over the top to put before you serve it. And I like to save it, because if you have any leftovers, we usually don't have a lot of leftovers, but if you do, pour that juice over the leftovers and it's amazing. So let this rest for 20 to 30 minutes. We usually let it go the full 30 minutes, and then we'll be back at the end to plate this all up and just give a quick taste and see how it turned out. Okay, so we're back. It's been 30 minutes. We have everything else warmed and ready to go, and we are ready to serve up our turkey. Now, something I didn't mention that I put in the video at the beginning is that this is the time of year to stock up on turkey. A lot of people save it just for Thanksgiving, but why not have it all winter long? And so it's such an easy thing to put on a Sunday for your Sunday dinner. That this is the time of year we stock up and just put them in the freezer. They last for several months. And so that's just a tip I wanted to throw in. And so all you're gonna do is transfer this to a platter. Okay, so we transferred our turkey over to a platter. And what I want you to do is just to remind you to go ahead and try to get out any of the juices that are in the bottom. You're gonna have a good cup or two full of juices. I just need a little bit here. And just be careful because it is super hot. These juices are delicious and perfect to pour over top of our turkey once we get it all sliced up. So we're just gonna set this off to the side here. Okay, so the next thing that you can do once it's been transferred to a platter, I'll move this over here so you guys can see. You can reach up under the skin really carefully, and the stems will come right out. All those stems from the herbs. And you know, it's your choice on whether you want to remove all those herbs or not. Once you start to slice it, they'll easily pop out, as you can see. So for now, what I'll do is I will just slice up this 1/2. And so remember, the breastbone runs down the center. And so you just want to cut down along either side of the breastbone to get to this super big breast of meat here. And I'll tell you guys, wait till you try the skin. It's amazing. So keep that on and see how it just folds back nicely. And you can just take it and put it right down at the corners of your platter. And it looks beautiful. You guys can see all the steam coming from there and just this bright yellow. So beautiful. And most of the stems we were able to pull out of there. And if you can just toss those off to the side there. And then what we do is just thinly slice up the turkey, as thick as you want, but I personally like it pretty thin. And I just want to get a bite and test this out before we put it out on the table. All right.
absolutely phenomenal. You're gonna love it. Don't forget, as soon as you get all this sliced up, you can go ahead and take this juice and pour it over the top. But I'm telling you, just like it is right now, it's super moist, super flavorful, and I truly hope this becomes one of your favorites, just like our family. So from my family to yours, we just want to wish you a very happy Thanksgiving this year. I know last year a lot of us weren't able to celebrate like we normally would with all of our families and extended families due to COVID. So really enjoy this year's getting to spend time with the people that you love. And we'll be back soon with, we're close to Christmas now, and so we're going to be back with some holiday cooking in the coming weeks. So stay tuned for all of that. And always remember to share your life, love, and food with all your friends and family. Thanks, everyone.